I'm not afraid of you, I said, my voice steady. I know you're possessed by something evil, and I want you out of my house. Zora laughed, a wicked sound that made my skin crawl. You think you can stop me? You're weak, Amara. Chuka doesn't care about you anymore. Now let us go back to how it all started. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Sit back, relax as you watch this interesting story. My name is Amara, and this is the story of how my life changed when I met a young girl named Zora. I live in a small town in Nigeria with my husband, Chuka. We had a peaceful life, even though we didn't have children yet. Our home was filled with love, or so I thought. That all changed the day I met Zora, a girl who seemed so innocent but would turn our world upside down. It was a hot afternoon, and I was sitting on the balcony, watching people go about their daily business. That's when I first saw her, a girl, no older than 18, with a tray full of snacks and soft drinks balanced on her head. Her clothes were ragged and worn, and her eyes looked tired. She was hawking snacks, going from house to house, hoping to make a little money. Something about her tugged at my heart. She looked so vulnerable, so alone. I couldn't stop thinking about her. The next day, I saw her again, walking the same path. I called her over to buy something from her and to talk. Hello, I said with a smile as she approached. What's your name? Zara, she said quietly. How long have you been selling snacks? For as long as I can remember, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Do you live nearby? She hesitated, then shook her head. No. I don't have a home. I sleep wherever I can. Her words hit me hard. How could someone so young have no family, no home? I felt an overwhelming urge to help her. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about Zora. I lay in bed, next to Chuka, feeling restless. Chuka, there's something I want to talk to you about, I said. He put his phone down and looked at me. What is it? It's about a girl I met today. She's an orphan, and she has no home. I want to help her. Maybe we could take her in. Chuka frowned. We don't even know her, Amara. You can't just invite strangers into our home. I know, but she's just a girl. She's lost, and she has no one. I think we could give her a future. We could send her to school, take care of her. Please, Chuka, she needs help. Chuka sighed and shook his head. I don't know. It's risky. We don't know anything about her. What if she brings trouble? I've thought about that, but I just can't turn away from her. I feel like this is something we should do. Please. After days of pleading, Chuka reluctantly agreed. All right, Amara. We'll help her. But I hope you know what you're doing. I was overjoyed. The next day, I found Zara again and told her the good news. She could hardly believe it. Her eyes filled with tears, and she thanked me over and over. You don't have to thank me, I said, smiling. Just focus on school and work hard. Zara moved into our home, and for a while, things were good. She was quiet, respectful, and eager to help around the house. She quickly became like a younger sister to me, and I was proud of the decision we had made. But after a few months, I began to notice small things that made me uncomfortable. Zara seemed to be getting too close to Chuka. At first, I thought I was imagining it. But then I started seeing the way she looked at him, how she would always sit near him, laugh at his jokes, and seek his attention. One day, I brought it up with Chuka. "Chuka, don't you think you're spending too much time with Zora?" He looked up from his phone, frowning. "What do you mean?" "I feel like she's getting too close to you. It's starting to make me uncomfortable." Chuka's face changed. "Amora, you're overthinking things. She's just a young girl. There's nothing going on. I'm just saying it doesn't feel right. I don't like how she's always around you." Suddenly, Chuka stood up, his face full of anger. "Are you accusing me of something? She's like a sister to us." "I'm not accusing you, but I'm telling you how I feel. Can't you see how she looks at you?" Chuka's eyes flared, and before I could react, he slapped me across the face. The pain was sharp, but the shock was worse. He had never raised his hand to me before. I stumbled back, holding my cheek, tears streaming down my face. I couldn't believe what had just happened. Chuka looked at me for a moment, his expression hard, and then he stormed out of the room. I was left there, shaking and confused. How had things come to this? My heart felt heavy, and my marriage suddenly felt like it was slipping through my fingers. From that day on, Chuka became more distant. He spent more time with Zora than with me. Every time I tried to talk to him, he would dismiss me, saying I was imagining things. I felt like I was losing him, and the more I tried to fix things, the more he pulled away. One night, I had a terrible dream. In the dream, I was walking through a dark forest, lost and scared. I came upon an old woman sitting by a fire. Her face was wrinkled, and her eyes were full of wisdom. "You must be careful, child," the old woman said. "The girl in your house is not what she seems. She is possessed by an evil spirit, and she has taken your husband from you." I woke up with a start, my heart pounding in my chest. The dream felt so real, like a warning. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't ignore it. The next day, I waited until Chuka left for work before confronting Zora. "Zora, we need to talk," I said, standing in the doorway of her room. She looked up at me, her expression calm, almost too calm. "What is it, Ma?" "I know what you're doing," I said, my voice shaking. "You've taken my husband from me, and I know you're not who you say you are." Zora stared at me for a moment, and then she smiled. But it wasn't the kind smile. It was cold, almost evil. "You're too late," she said softly. "Chuka is mine now. He doesn't love you anymore." My heart sank, but I refused to let her see my fear. "I'm not afraid of you," I said, my voice steady. "I know you're possessed by something evil, and I want you out of my house." Zora laughed, a wicked sound that made my skin crawl. "You think you can stop me? You're weak, Amora. Chuka doesn't care about you anymore." I felt a cold sweat run down my back, but I remembered the words from my dream. I took a deep breath and spoke with all the strength I could find. I poured her the water mixed with salt the old woman had instructed me to do and shouted at the top of my voice. "I command you to leave this house." Zora's smile disappeared, and her eyes flashed red. She let out a terrible scream, and her body began to shake violently. I stepped back, horrified, but I didn't stop praying. I kept calling on God to protect my home, to save my husband from whatever evil had taken hold of him. Suddenly, Zara collapsed to the floor, her body still. When she opened her eyes again, they were normal. The evil was gone. Zara left our house that day, without a word. I didn't know where she went, but I didn't care. As long as she was gone, that was all that mattered. Chuka came home later that day, and for a while, he seemed confused, like he had been in a daze. He didn't remember much of what had happened in the past few months. But as we talked, the memories slowly came back to him. He cried, apologizing over and over for the way he had treated me. I don't know what came over me, Amora. I don't know how I could have let this happen, he said, tears streaming down his face. It took time, but we worked through it together. Slowly, we rebuilt our marriage, piece by piece, with love and forgiveness. Chuka vowed never to let anything like that happen again, and I learned to trust him once more. In the end, we found our way back to each other. It wasn't easy, but with faith and determination, we overcame the darkness that had tried to tear us apart. And I learned that not everything is as it seems. Sometimes, the people we try to help can bring us harm. But with love and courage, even the darkest evil can be defeated. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to like and share this video.